Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Schweickart Prize student webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Colleen Fiaschetti. I'm with B612, and I'm just going to help a bit with the project management. And also, I wanted to give you guys some technical details before we begin. This webinar is going to be recorded. We will publish it on the B612 YouTube so that students can get more information later, and you can also rewatch it. Later, we will, after a very short presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A. And so because we have a small group today, we will probably allow access to turn on your video and audio so that you can ask your question with your video on and make it more personalized, which would be great. We do have the privilege of having the Schweickart Prize namesake on the call. That's Apollo 9 astronaut Rusty Schweickart. During the Q&A segment, if you could please refrain from asking any questions related to the amazing Apollo missions or Rusty as an astronaut, an incredible person that he is. Only questions that are related to the prize, should you have any. So it should be about 20 minutes. Yesterday we finished even shorter. We're just going to go over some details in the team. And with that, I'm going to actually hand it over to our chair, Randy Schweickart. Over to you, Randy.
Thanks, Colleen. And hi, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for attending today's webinar. We're so excited to see so much interest in the Schweickart Prize. So thank you so much for being here. To start things off, I want to introduce the team who will be managing the prize this year. I am Randy Schweickart, the Schweickart Prize chair and son of Apollo 9 astronaut Rusty Schweickart. My twin brother, yes, identical twin brother Rusty, is co-chair of the prize. He and I lead the development of the Schweickart Prize selection process and ultimately execute that process to determine the winner. Colleen has introduced herself. She's from the B612 Foundation organization and helps with the project management of the prize. For those who worked with her before, you are well aware of her talents and her ability to keep us headed in the right direction. Joining Colleen from the B612 Foundation team is Delphine Berenice Millen. She's the youngest of the crowd and perhaps maybe because of that, the most capable of the group. Most of the communications that you have received and will receive in the future will be coming from her. I'd also like to introduce our two distinguished guests, Rusty Schweickart, the elder that is, and Joe DeMartini. Rusty is here to inspire us with his wisdom and enthusiasm for planetary defense. Dad, say hi and maybe a few words.
Yeah, hello. And yeah, I will say a few words because things are getting pretty interesting now. If you're interested at all in planetary defense, the next several years are going to get very interesting with a couple of new telescopes coming on, which are going to discover quite a number of new NEOs that may or may not be challenging. And there's a couple of them that we already know about that are quite challenging, that are going to get very interesting toward the end of 2028 and the beginning of 2029. I think Joe might say something about that a bit later on. But in any event, you're getting into the planetary defense game at exactly the right time. So stick with it. Come up with clever stuff. Save lives, etc. Back to you, Randy.
Thanks, Pops. So our second distinguished guest is Joe DeMartini. He's here to support the team and provide his thoughts to you on how he came up with his brilliant idea. In my opinion, we could not have found a better person to help represent the Schweickart Prize and inspire future winners. We'll hear from him a little bit later in the talk, in the discussion. Next slide. So what is the Schweickart Prize? Prize was inspired by Danica Remy, CEO of B612, and Nancy Ramsey, Rusty's adoring wife. So my brother and I and our wives, along with several others from the B612 community, founded the Schweickart Prize to honor Rusty and establish a lasting tribute to him in the form of an award that would inspire the next generation of planetary defense experts and advocates. You can see here what the award consists of, one prize awarded annually. And yes, that's a real meteorite. And I imagine if you ask Joe, he can tell you about the many amazing contacts he's been able to make since receiving the award. I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about that later on. While there is only a single winner each year, we hope and expect that the research and learning that is done to generate a proposal for the Schweickart Prize will encourage many of you to pursue careers that will ultimately benefit planetary defense. Next slide. So now to talk about the basics of the application process. There are three basic phases to the Schweickart Prize selection process. Phase one consists of a pre-application form, and to be clear, that form is available now on the website, and I encourage everyone on the call to go there and complete this. It provides the team with basic identification information. We simplified the form this year to try to encourage students to rapidly complete this step. Students can apply as an individual or as a group. We ask that in the case of a group application, all members are identified and a single team lead is designated as the primary contact. We also request that a mentor is identified for the applicant or group to ensure they have knowledgeable guide and expert to assist them in the proposal development process. And because the question came up in yesterday's webinar, I thought that I would state what the requirement is to be able to qualify as an applicant. You must be an active graduate or professional school student, and again, graduate school, not undergraduate at this point, or have received your degree in the past year, so in 2024. So with that, hopefully that helps clarify what the requirements are. Please send in your questions if you need further information, and we will clarify based upon those questions. We will certainly send out a notification clarifying just to make sure people are aware of who's qualified to apply. Okay, with that, phase two is submission of the full application. We request that the applicants provide two separate letters of recommendation. One would typically be provided by an advisor or mentor, focusing on the career aspirations and leadership potential of the applicant. The second should be provided by an expert in the field of the applicant, or preferably of the proposal that the applicant is submitting. This adds weight to the proposal topic and ensures oversight by a subject matter expert. The core and by far most important part of the prize application is a 500-word proposal describing the solution to one of the key challenges in planetary defense. Proposals may include figures and tables. Captions, references, and links do not apply to the word count. We'll talk a little bit more about the proposal in the next slide. So I'll go on continue with the application. The successful applicant will also be selected for their potential for leadership, academic merit, and commitment to furthering their proposal. So in support of these aspects, applicants are asked to provide a 250-word career aspiration statement and a copy of their academic records. So that completes phase two, the application, the full application. Phase three of the selection process is only applicable to a set of finalists chosen from the full set of applicants. This phase consists of a set of video conference interviews by the selection committee with each finalist. Finalists answer questions from the selection committee about their project and respond to critiques and suggestions for strengthening their proposal. Finalists are then requested to submit a final version of their application, incorporating ideas and comments from the interview discussion. This final version is allowed to be up to twice the length of the original proposal, so up to 1,000 words. We anticipate that the finalist interviews will be conducted the week of April 14th, with the final proposal submissions being due on or before April 30th. The prize winner and all other finalists will be notified about the award decision in early May. This will allow enough time to prepare for the public announcement of the Schweickart Prize winner on Asteroid Day, June 30th, 2025. Next slide. So students often want to know what makes a winning proposal. so I thought I'd provide some guidance along with some learnings from the 2024 process. Number one, be creative. Think outside the box. This is the chance to really get your creative juices flowing. While your dissertation work may be what you know best, extend it, extrapolate it. Don't be afraid to even go with something totally unrelated. For the 2025 version of the prize, we have a theme of uncertainty. You'll find a link to this, the statement about uncertainty, in the student resources slide later in the presentation. This theme is intended to direct you toward areas where there are current gaps in our planetary events capabilities and readiness to deal with an asteroid impact. But there is no requirement that you select an idea from the list that we provided. Please feel free to propose a topic that excites you. In the 2024 prize process, Joe understood our proposal request better than others and chose an idea that he felt would be more applicable, an innovative approach to improving our ability to find asteroids, rather than his actual dissertation topic, which has to do with the characterization of the asteroid Apophis. Number two, think big. The Schweickart Prize Selection Committee is looking for big ideas. How will your idea impact planetary defense when implemented fully into the future and across the globe? Also, there are so many amazing advances in space technologies these days, and proposing novel ways to use and combine these advancements to improve planetary defense is an effective approach to proposal generation. In Joe's case, he combined the novel capabilities with the Vera Rubin Observatory with the recently announced asteroid identification verification capabilities of the Asteroid Institute's Adam Thor algorithm to propose a unique way to advance NEO discovery. Number three, emphasize impact over personal executability. Ideas that are actionable or impactful broadly across the planetary defense community are more likely to be selected for further consideration. Don't limit yourself to what you yourself might be able to accomplish. We're looking for ideas that the planetary defense community can act on. This is the chance to make the community aware of your great idea. And in 2024, understanding this aspect, Joe came up with a proposal advocating for the participation of a large community of scientists, his Sunset collaborators. He realized that this would appeal to the Schweickart Prize Selection Committee. So with that in mind, next, I'd like to have Joe tell us about his experience with the 2024 Schweickart Prize and provide some guidance for the 2025 applicants. Over to you, Joe.
Hey guys, thanks for the excellent introduction, Randy. I'm going to give you guys my top 4 pieces of advice here, but I'm happy to answer any other questions about my experience or more advice or more specific questions in the Q&A portion in a minute. But perhaps the biggest piece of advice that I have for 2025 applicants is to brainstorm several ideas. Randy mentioned just a minute ago that my winning idea was not related to my dissertation research, really in anything except that it had to do with asteroids. And when I was in this brainstorming process, of course, I came up with an idea that was related to my dissertation work. But as I thought through things more and more, I realized that this other idea really was bigger. It could go further. It had better legs. And it more satisfied that criterion of an innovative planetary defense idea. So really don't be afraid to leave your comfort zone when you're brainstorming, and don't just stick to your area of specific expertise. The next piece of advice that I have is to tell a story in your proposal and to advocate for it. So there will be, as Randy mentioned, an interview portion for your proposal, and you are the face of your idea. And so you have to believe in it. And when you're writing your proposal, you need to have enough detail in there to satisfy a subject matter expert, but you also need to have enough excitement and engagement in the idea that you can express in your writing in order to inspire people to believe in it the way that you should believe in it. So that should come through in your writing, but also in your interview portion, also when you're talking about your idea. I think that's a huge, huge part of this, is really believing that your idea is good and being able to show that. Next piece of advice is to consider feasibility and achievability. When I was going through my proposal, originally it started out very small. It was we should establish a collaboration of observatories and observers and telescopes to look for these objects inside of Earth's orbit, as you can see in this image here, the background image. To try to look for objects that are approaching the Earth from interior to its orbit. And this grew into something more than that. First, it was, oh, the Rubin Observatory is able to do this, so we should advocate for them to add this. And then it built up from there. Oh, well, this other telescope network is able to do this. And then there's going to be this space telescope that's able to do this as well. And then we can use this new technology. And you build each step building upon the one before it to create something huge and revolutionary, but that starts at something very easy to do at the current day. And the very last thing, perhaps the second most important piece of advice that I'll give, is to get as many opinions or reviews on your ideas as you can at every single stage. From the brainstorming process, run your ideas by all of your friends, by the people you share an office with, by your advisor, by your mentor, all the way through when you're writing your proposal, send it to everybody who will read it. You'll get reviews back from the interview committee if you make it to the finalist stage, and there you should really take those very seriously and discuss them with as many people as you can. But the more eyes you get on an idea, the more refined it will be as you go through this process, and that can really help develop it from something that is just an idea into something that could be innovative and revolutionary for planetary defense. So that's what I've got for you. Again, happy to answer more questions as we go to the Q&A. I'll pass it back to Randy for the moment, though.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Hey everyone, I'll actually just take over. So we have, in the past month, accumulated a bunch of resources for you guys to find on our website to help inspire your ideas for your proposal. Planetary defense, it may sound that like we are just looking for technical proposals, but that's not the truth. It's we would like to see it. The topic ricochets into multiple areas of study, and this year's theme of uncertainty, which is also published on the website, it applies to law, it applies to ethical considerations, it applies to just the economy as a whole, and policy. And so I highly suggest that you guys go to the website and click around through all the different blog posts, read through our resources, because you may be inspired to write on something that isn't necessarily about the engineering and technical side of things, although of course we welcome all proposals. So please go onto the website and check those out. If you have any questions related to deadlines, eligibility, or other application details, you can contact us at sprize@b612foundation.org. And either, one of us will get back to you, most likely Delphine. But today is your opportunity to not only ask questions, about perhaps some of your proposal ideas, but to also ask Joe some questions, perhaps about how he formulated his ideas. And in the future, from here on out, we ask that you go to your subject matter expert with any other questions that you have related to your proposal. So with that, I'm going to open it up to a Q&A. Because we have a small group today, everybody's welcome to turn on their video and their audio. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions, you can throw them into the chat, or you can turn on your video right now and ask them. Hi, Early. Good to see you. Yesterday, for our first student webinar, it took people a second to jump in with any of your questions. So I highly suggest now is the time, other than if your proposal ends up being part of the final few, you won't have another opportunity to talk to the Schweickart Prize Committee, Randy, the Rusties, or Joe later. So oh, okay. This is a good question. Leonardo asked, how did the idea of this award come about? Randy, do you want to?
Sure, I'll talk to that. So basically, Dad has been involved for so long, advancing. I mean, almost initiating, certainly with several others, initiating the idea of planetary defense, defense against asteroid impacts, and he's been working on this for so long and been such a major contributor that Danica and Nancy Ramsey, his wife, basically said, we've got to do something. We've got to do something to make sure he knows that we appreciate all that work that he has done and how he's contributed. And so Danica reached out to a bunch of folks and said, "Hey, are you guys willing to provide some money to support the existence of this prize? We have a basic idea." And then of course, when Dad gets involved, he immediately takes charge and starts just formulating what it's actually going to be. But nonetheless, the motivation behind it was a really good thought about wanting to provide something that we could honor Rusty with, and I think that we struck on the right thing. That is, Rusty, my dad, is really interested in getting people excited about planetary defense. It really is a unique existential threat that is absolutely possible to be dealt with by humanity at this point in time with our technology, with our capabilities, and an item to help unify the globe, if you will, in dealing with a threat that is a global threat, not a threat specifically to a particular country here or city there. And so I think that that coming up with the idea of a prize that could help advance someone's career who's interested in contributing to planetary defense was a perfect idea for it. And so that's really how it came about.
Randy, let me just add one comment to it, which sounds totally audacious, but the reality, if you think about it, is that with our technology today, we really have humanity have the capability of very slightly adjusting the solar system so that it enhances the future of human life, the continuation of human life on the globe. I mean, think of the dinosaurs, right? They didn't. So this is something really worth getting into because, frankly, you can extend the future of humanity by contributing to this. That's a pretty exciting idea.
Dan, I see that you have your hand raised. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, my question is for Joe. What was he feeling at this stage of the application process, like before he became a winner? What was he feeling at the start, and how did that progress?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I heard about the prize from my advisor while I was actually away from. I'm at the University of Maryland, College Park, and my advisor's Derek Richardson, heavily involved in planetary defense missions and asteroid science, that kind of stuff. He's one of the Schweickart Prize ambassadors, so he told me about it. But I was actually away in Europe at the time for a couple of semesters abroad. And at first, I wasn't entirely convinced. And then I looked at it a little bit closer and I thought, this is the first time I have ever seen an award, a fellowship, a prize, anything that is specifically dedicated to planetary defense, right? In astronomy, which is my PhD program, there's a lot of stuff for astrophysics, a lot of stuff for galaxies, for interstellar medium, gas, dust, all this stuff, but not so much for planetary defense specifically or for small body science specifically. That was one of the big motivators. The other was that winning a meteorite is really, really cool. And I wanted that meteorite pretty bad. And
more than the $10,000, Joe?
The 10 grand is really, really nice too, but the meteorite was what really clinched it. And the opportunity to get to talk to Rusty and get to share my idea and discuss my idea back and forth with him as well. And in fact, throughout the process, once I made it into the finalist stage, I went back and forth a lot with Rusty and some of the other members of the interview panel to refine my idea into something that could be much more than it was originally. So that was one of the huge benefits. But at this stage right now, I was starting to put together my application. I had sent in probably by about now, had sent in my my pre-application, my CV, and all of that stuff. And I was in the brainstorming stage, and I spent a long time on that brainstorming stage. I came up with, like I said, 4 or 5 ideas in different areas of planetary defense, and I found that doing that was really critical, and looking critically at those ideas, trying to weed them out, was really critical to coming up with an idea that I was satisfied with, and that thankfully the committee was also.
Thanks for the question, Dan. And thanks, Joe. Um, I wanted to say to that end, with all the resources that we did put up online, please don't think that because we actually put them up there that we think that, that you need to think of something outside of what's been listed. That's hardly the case. These are all items that should be addressed and written into and need creative thinking and innovative ideas. So we're not looking for something that nobody's thought of that isn't on the Schweickart Prize website. We're looking for answers that are to problems and solutions for what's happening right now, and they may already be listed up there. So I just wanted to throw that out there too.
To speak to Colleen's point there, actually, my idea was not, I didn't come up with it all by myself, right? The Twilight observations, which is the focus of my idea, are something that has already existed. My idea was a collaboration and an organization of resources to try to use that method for planetary defense in a way that that could be useful for identifying and characterizing asteroids.
Randy, Jack Linnick has got a chat question there that is relevant to our earlier discussion.
So we've had a lot of interest from undergraduates, and I think that we've had some outreach about undergraduate participation, specifically in the webinars here. I think we're still formulating our thoughts on the participation of undergraduates, so I won't speak to that except to say that stay tuned. We'll work on that and get something out about undergraduates. I think what I can say at this point in time is that we would prefer for individuals applying that we not yet have undergraduates apply as individuals. We will again provide more information on that as we go. But certainly, once you're graduated in graduate school, that's the requirement for being able to apply.
We do have a question in the chat from Astro Mahi. They ask, what would be your advice for the first-time applicants, the major points to take care while applying? I don't know if, Joe, you want to address that, or if Randy has any suggestions.
Yeah, I think Joe has covered this quite well, and at least from his perspective, for sure. Let me just emphasize one piece. He had a mentor, an obvious mentor, because his advisor is in the field of planetary research. So if you don't have one that's so accessible to you, I do recommend for first-time applicants to make sure that you find a mentor, and whether that is you have some ideas, and then once you know about which one you've decided upon, you go find someone, or you find a mentor and you talk about ideas and they help you come up with an idea. The key thing is that you have someone who is familiar with the field. It's just that much more beneficial to talk with someone who really knows the state of the situation now with planetary defense, and can help guide you in terms of what really makes sense and what really doesn't make sense. One of the most disappointing applications that we had last year was a really unique intellectual exercise, but in terms of its real applicability to planetary defense, it really wasn't that useful. So it was a great mental exercise, analytical exercise, but it was important to understand what we're looking for as things that are meaningful in terms of applicability. And so that's what a mentor can help you obtain, is what is truly applicable, what is really implementable. And so again, I don't want to emphasize that that's really important, that you're able to find someone who can help you with that.
Yeah, to follow on there, if you don't have somebody like that immediately available, but you have your idea sort of at least partly formulated, you can look for people in that space, find research papers that are about that or publications somewhere, and reach out to those people to see if they would be willing to help mentor you in this aspect as well. I ended up doing that, going to other folks in my department to try to get some advice, some opinions about my topic because it wasn't directly related to my specific research.
Okay, and then we have another question from Yuk Chun. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, it's perfect. This is Yokjun Chan from sorry, Seattle. I have a question for Joe. So, it has been about a year since you got this award. I'm curious about like, is there any updates on your sunset proposal and how did the award help you to get connected to maybe subject expert or like getting interest from the community? Just want to know the follow-ups on your project. Thank you.
Yeah. So stay tuned at the Planetary Defense Conference this year to hear about my proposal in a little bit more detail. I submitted an abstract to give a poster about sunset at PDC, which will be in South Africa this year. But I should say one of the biggest aspects of this, which doesn't really get played up too much in the, when we're talking about the prize and what you get, right? Talk a lot about the meteorite and the money, and that's really, really good. But one of the other huge things that you get from this is access to the network of people who are involved with Rusty and with the B612 Institute and all of their expertise. Randy has just mentioned here that Rusty knows a lot of people in this in the planetary defense space. And as soon as I won the award, as soon as it was public that I had won the award, I was already being connected to people in the observing space who I wouldn't have had access to otherwise. People at the Vera Rubin Observatory have invited me to their solar system operations team, which is outstanding and not something I would have easily gotten into otherwise as well. I've started getting in touch with people who are developing software to try to work on follow-up observations and other things related to my proposal. So for me personally, I have not done too much with it yet because I'm trying to finish my thesis. I got to graduate this semester. But it is something that is in the works. I have talked to a lot of people about it, and I've even gotten emails from people saying, hey, we've got this telescope with these dimensions and we can point toward the horizon. Can we be part of sunset? And that's really, really cool to see. And it's outstanding it was so immediate after the prize, right? That my network just suddenly expanded. And that has been a huge boon to me, especially as I've been looking for jobs after my PhD for postdocs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's just really exciting, and also good luck with the just writing thesis graduations. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your prize application. I hope you submit it.
It looks like we do have a question from Hari. Would this prize be for applicants who are interested in only planetary defense, or can it be for anyone with a variety of interests, including planetary defense?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and one that we'd actually like to say we're expecting some of the more interesting applications and proposals to come from folks who are not necessarily focused in planetary defense. And let me just say in the field of policy or in the field legal fields and so forth, that those are going to be people who typically aren't focused on. I mean, there's not that many lawyers who are focused on planetary defense. So absolutely, that's where some of the out of the box ideas that are borrowing other fields, concepts from other fields, are able to apply them to planetary defense. So we encourage folks who are not necessarily planetary defenses, they're are already known to be what they intend to pursue their career in. We encourage folks to apply because that's, again, where we expect to see some of the more interesting proposals, unique proposals that we would not find in the well-established technical community of planetary defense.
Randy, let me add just one thing to that. People don't necessarily realize that a part of planetary defense is post a decision that says we can't deflect this, we're going to let it hit. And if you think about an asteroid hitting the Earth, you're talking about things like evacuation of people from an impact zone. You're talking about legal questions about who can do what. You're talking about international policy issues, because if you're going to deflect, the impact, the instantaneous impact point is going to get dragged across the surface of the Earth. Well, that's a big political challenge. So everything from insurance to law to economics to emergency activity insurance, there are many, many different fields of interest that get into planetary defense, other than deflecting it so it doesn't hit, because a lot of asteroids are going to end up small enough that they're still dangerous, but you can't afford to deflect them, so they're going to end up hitting the Earth. So there's a lot of opening there for things beyond, astrodynamicists and such.
Great. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any more in the chat. If you have just any more questions, you're welcome to turn on your video now, or you can throw them in there. Okay. Great. Well, I wanted to thank everyone. This is our second year of running the Schweickart Prize, at least for a student. The first year was 2 years ago, and we gave it to Rusty. When is the Planetary Defense Conference? The PDC is happening the first week of May in Cape Town, South Africa this year.
And you can join it remotely as well. So registration for the first time is open to people who will not be attending. So that's interesting.
Cape Town's far.
Student registration is cheaper.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was a good question. Okay, great. So yeah, like I was saying, we're clarifying, exactly how this prize process works and trying to open it up to students that have great ideas. And so, the last 2 days, the webinar that you guys joined today and then just yesterday has been incredibly helpful to the organizing team in ironing out some more details from the questions that you guys have asked. So thank you so much for that. We will be sending out a follow-up email in the next week or so with this recording, and then more clarification on some of the questions that were asked in these 2 webinars. So thank you all again so much. We hope to see some proposals coming in from you. Remember, the first step is filling in the form, the pre-application online. If you have any questions, you can email us at sprize@b612foundation.org, and we will get back to you soon. With that, thanks for joining, and everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Great to have you.
See you, and good luck.
Oh, we've got one question.
Yeah, I see a hand up there.
Giovanni.
Can you see me? Am I in the frame yet?
You're in the frame. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Sorry, I came a little bit behind on this, so some of my questions, if you already answered it, do not feel bad letting me know. But I'm applying with a team this round, and I wanted to know, for the interview process, will it just be with the person leading the team, or will it be with the entire team?
That's a good question. So we haven't had any applicants as a team. I think that initially we do want one point of contact leading the entire application process. Once it actually comes to the interview, we're still in discussion about that. Randy, what do you? We're really still. I think, how big of a team? Out of curiosity, how big of a team are you thinking of applying in with?
There's like 30 of us. No, I'm joking. Ooh. There's 4 of us.
4? Okay.
Yeah, I think that I'm tempted to say that we'd like everyone from the group to be part of the interview process, especially if they've contributed significant portions that just the leader wouldn't be able to answer. So I'm tempted to say that we have, I think, stated in our website that we're limiting it to 6 total folks in a group just to try to keep it from being too large. But I think we are leaning in the direction of having everyone there. Again, like Colleen said, we haven't had groups apply before, so it'll be a new experience. But that's where I lean.
Gotcha. Thank you.
We do have a question from Yosto. Are there any restrictions to nationality or host institute location?
Absolutely not. Apply from everywhere and anywhere, any institution, any location, no limitations at all. And we very much want this to be an international prize, and we're very excited to see applications from any and everywhere. We received a number of applications last year, international applications, but we'd like to see this even more broadly spread throughout the world.
Planetary defense is a threat to the entire planet, and we like participation from everywhere. We're gradually building up to that, so thanks for the question.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes. So there's another question from Aditya. Wondering about the eligibility for final year PhDs and incoming postdocs.
You're eligible. Yeah, final year PhDs and postdocs are eligible. Thank you for asking that question. If we're trying to keep this as broad as possible, and I think that because the topic is so highly specialized, undergraduate would be a bit of a reach, but anybody who's doing post-grad work would be eligible, and certainly if you're on your way to getting your PhD. So, do we have any other questions? Oh, Giovanni.
Hello again. So I remember I read on the website that in terms of the project that we do propose is not something that we have to do, but in terms of, let's say it's a project that we want to do either way, is there any issues in terms of, like, I don't want to say ownership of the results and data that comes from it, but are we allowed to actually pursue the project that we propose?
Absolutely. I wanted to put the aspect of not feeling like you have to accomplish it, because I don't want people to limit themselves to thinking, oh, well, if I can't make this happen, then why would I propose this sort of thing? But absolutely, if you're inspired, to take the project on, and you have the right contacts and so forth, and hopefully you get more contacts if you win, for example, then by all means, that's even more exciting. I mean, hopefully you're, even if you're not able to accomplish all of your project, hopefully you can participate at least in some of it. That's the whole idea, to have your career, be part of what's being accomplished. So, so absolutely true. That certainly doesn't detract at all from, the consideration for winning.
Awesome. Thank you.
Actually, I think that what would be interesting, Joe, is talking a little bit about, because I think that this prize is new. We just started it a few years ago now, and Joe won last year. But now what we're realizing is, and Joe can attest to this, is that once the proposal is, we have that revision phase, and then it's published. We're hoping to actually have you represent the Schweickart Prize as the winner in future conferences. And then we offer a number of different instances where you're going to be, shoulder to shoulder with leaders in the field, in planetary, in asteroid research or study or discovery or whatever it is. And so maybe Joe, just talking a bit about, hopefully the PDC coming up and other opportunities for conferences in the future.
Yeah. So I can speak to that a little bit, right? It's mentioned on the prize website, and Randy mentioned here, you're not expected to immediately follow through with your ideas. Some ideas are a little bit too big And some ideas just need more organization than you can do in that couple of month time span. But for my idea, for example, for Sunset, it required an in with the Rubin telescope team. It required some knowledge about this twilight observing, which you can read about if you read through my proposal. And all of these things that I don't necessarily have expertise with as a modeler. As soon as I won the prize, though, I was almost immediately starting to be introduced to experts in those areas. I've met folks at the University of Washington who work on some of the detection technology for the Rubin Observatory and who have collaborated with B612 on their Thor and Atom algorithms. I've met folks at the Rubin telescope, actually, who have gotten me involved in their solar system operations. I'm speaking with teams who are developing web tools for follow-up observations, all of these things that I wouldn't have had any way to get involved with before. But one of the really interesting things about this is that when I go to conferences and people recognize me as the winner of the Schweickart Prize, they come up and they want to talk to me about it. They say, "Oh, hey, I heard about your cool idea. I had met Rusty at some conference or something a couple of years back, and I saw the prize and I saw that you won. Tell me more about your idea. Is there anything that I can do to help?" And I have submitted a proposal to present the idea or an abstract to present the idea at the Planetary Defense Conference coming up in May. I should be hearing back about that very shortly, actually. So if you're going to be there, virtually or in person, look out for my talk, one about my dissertation research and one about this prize proposal. But it's another great way to get your name out there, get people to recognize you, and to start to build yourself as a personality in planetary defense. I can say that I've gotten a lot more contacts in those areas because of this than I would have otherwise.
And Joe, by the way, you may not be aware of it, but you're about to become even more relevant to the whole field because there's a very interesting asteroid right now that was only discovered in December of 2024. And lo and behold, the sunset type observation is extremely important because if it does hit the Earth, it's going to be coming from inside the Earth's orbit. And the last good information we're going to get is through a sunset observation.
So there you go. It could even turn into something shortly after you've won the prize.
Right. You're gonna get to be pretty important, Joe.
Great. We do have a question from Eric. He says, is it okay to use current classwork as part of your submission, such as article reviews and research topic papers?
So in general, I would say yes. I think that it's important to recognize that the work that you're doing and references to the work or references that have inspired your work, are critical to supporting the idea that you may have. And clearly, the work that you're doing is what you feel comfortable with and what you know best. So, absolutely, leverage the work that you are doing, leverage the work that your cohort may be doing, and any supporting references and research that has been done associated with that. I just encourage you to think big. That is to extrapolate. I mean, you may be initiating something, but ultimately it's going to result in some large impact in planetary defense. So that's where I would say, don't just talk about the work that you may be doing now. Talk about the work you are doing now and how it will look and be in the future with respect to its impact to planetary defense.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions, then I think we're gonna call this a wrap. Thank you all for joining. Oh, Giovanni, you're back. Great questions. Keep them coming.
Hello, another time. One, I think that's so cool, especially what you've been saying, Joe, as a former prize winner of this and how that kind of impacted what you did after and where you are now. And one of the questions actually I have for you is how was that process of wanting to apply for you? Did you was your original career idea going into planetary defense, or is this something that was changed after you saw this prize, or how did that kind of look for you?
Yeah, so my advisor, my research advisor, Derek Richardson, was one of the Schweickart Prize ambassadors. And he brought this up to me while I was actually while I was doing a year abroad in France. And so I applied internationally, even though I'm technically at a US institution. So there was a question about that earlier. But he brought this up to me, and I was looking at it, and at first I wasn't entirely sure, and then I saw that there was a chance to talk to an Apollo 9 astronaut and to win a meteorite, and I said, yeah, I gotta do that. Um, No, I have always been interested in planetary defense. My first research project was on the asteroid Apophis, which is going to fly by on Friday the 13th of April in 2029. It'll be visible to the
Friday
naked eye
13th.
over Europe and Africa. It's going to be a great opportunity for planetary defense. It's part of the reason why 2029 is on the road to being named the International Year of Planetary Defense. So it's always been an interest of mine, and this was the first time that I have ever seen a planetary defense focused prize or award or scholarship or fellowship or anything like that. Planetary defense has gotten big in the last couple of decades, but I haven't seen it show up in the sort of award space. And this seemed like one that I was well qualified for, and that's what led me to apply. Actually coming up with the idea was a lot more messy. Like I said, my brainstorming, I had 4 or 5 different ideas in different aspects of planetary defense, and my research was one of them. But in the end, I decided that the sunset idea was the most innovative. It solved a problem that existed that I could see. It wasn't just sort of pushing forward my own agenda, but I saw its track long term as I started to think through the idea, and it looked better than any of the other ones that I had come up with, and that's why I stuck with it in the end instead of the research topic that I'm most familiar with. And I think that did me well. I mean, evidence shows. So
Nice. And then how was the interview process? Was it like scary?
the interview, I was freaking out for the interview. I'll tell you what. It was I sent before, like in the weeks before the interview, I sent like a dozen emails to the email address that they gave you there, the prize email address, and I was like, okay, do I need to prepare this kind of thing, or who's going to be there, right? What kind of expertise do I need to speak to? All of that kind of stuff. In the end, what I would say is do interview prep the way that you would for anything else. Look at those standard interview questions and make sure that you can answer them about your prize. And then talk to those people in your network, your mentors, your subject matter experts, your friends. Have them read your proposal. Have them come up with questions or look for areas that can be critiqued and try to find answers to those. But probably the most important thing that I can say is show how excited you are about your idea. That I think was really critical for me in the interview process, was to indicate to these guys that I thought Sunset was really cool, and that I thought it would help, and then to be able to talk about it intelligently was the last bit.
Joe, let me add one more thing about the interview process. I didn't mention this in the presentation, but the selection committee will send ahead of time a list of questions and comments, so you do have some time to prepare. So it's not as though it's a cold turkey kind of thing. You just show up. We will have reviewed it and come up with our questions for each of the finalists' proposals, and those are the key areas of focus that we'd like that you to focus on during the interview. Clearly, we'll talk about other things as well, but again, we'll have stuff for you ahead of time so you can prepare.
The other thing I'd like to comment on, and Joe was typified that as well, is that your interview is a discussion, and you're going to get critiqued. And Joe's final proposal was significantly modified from his initial proposal because of the feedback that we presented in the discussion. So it's a very interactive and family-friendly event.
Nice. No, that sounds so awesome. I love the fact when I saw in the recommendations that we'll have to do a second proposal with your feedback in mind. So I love the
Yeah,
fact that we're going to be able to get that from you guys.
yeah.
And thank you, Joe, and you guys for holding this for us. This is great.
Yeah, I'll say the comments that you get from the interview committee are invaluable in helping to revise and refine your idea.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for Giovanni. Thank you for your questions. Thank you everyone else who was able to participate today. We will be having another one of these student webinars tomorrow at the exact same time. If you know of anybody else who you think would be interested in the prize, please share with them our email, the sprize@b612foundation.org, and have them write into us asking for the login details. We'd love to send it to them and have them join. Otherwise, we will be publishing this on our YouTube next week. Please go find your mentor or your subject matter expert to help you with your proposal. And we look forward to hopefully seeing a couple of those coming in by March 5th of this year. So thank you all. And yeah, have a wonderful evening or rest of your day, depending on where you are in the world.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Good luck.
everyone. Really appreciate it. Good luck.
Bye, all.
Bye.